Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I will be doing my first 2026 NBA mock draft. I feel as though this is a great time to do it as the order has been set and we have also found out which players will be returning to college and which players have stayed in the draft. Let's just get straight into it. I'm going to be using the Fanspo website for this, as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Okay, so first of all, we've got the Washington Wizards. There has been some discussion regarding them trading the pick, especially down to number 2 to Utah, but I ultimately think that they're going to keep the pick, and I think the most likely option, as has also been widely reported, is that they're going to go with AJ DeBarnster. I am a big fan of all these top 3 prospects. I really wouldn't fault you if you wanted to go for any of these 3, but I feel as though DeBarnster fits like the most important role in the NBA, in the modern NBA, it seems, in one of those jumbo wings. Peterson has just had a little bit too many injury concerns. I mean, he's still the number 1 prospect on my board, but I can understand why you would be a bit wary about taking him, especially at the number 1 overall selection. And then Cameron Boozer, again, a lot of people see that him translating to the NBA a little bit weird. So again, totally understandable, and I think that the Wizards will take DeBarnster number 1 to be their franchise player, and he will become a great scorer in this league. I'm sure of that one. All right, secondly here, the Utah Jazz. I think they're going to go for Darren Peterson here. Again, Cam Boozer. I know that Cam Boozer's dad, Carlos Boozer, is in the Jazz front office, and he might try to persuade them a little bit. And again, I wouldn't say that would be a wrong move, but yeah, I just think Darren Peterson works. Yeah, I mean, if you come down here and look at this starting 5, they will have Keontae George, Darren Peterson, Larry Markkanen, Triple J, Walker Kessler. I mean, that's just a really good starting 5. They're kind of in the same position a little bit as the Wizards, in which both of them made win now moves to kind of signal that this will be their last year of tanking, and then both of them ended up getting the first 2 picks, which is really good for them, especially considering the new rules to which teams are no longer allowed to tank. But yeah, so I don't really know what's going to happen with Ace Bailey after this. I guess he can be a good bench piece, but having too much talent is never going to be a bad thing. Darren Peterson goes number 2 to the Jazz here. I just feel that he might. There's just such a good chance of him becoming a 25-point per game scorer. He's just got that kind of ability to just make scoring the ball just feel so smooth. 3 here, the Grizzlies, they get Cameron Boozer. Pretty easy selection here, and I honestly feel like Boozer could go number 1. He is such a great dynamic player who is just really, really good at the game of basketball. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we look back on this draft class in 10 years and everyone's thinking about why didn't Cam Boozer go number 1. If I'm the Grizzlies here at 3, I'm over the moon to take Cameron Boozer. It's a nice little start to their rebuild they've got going here. They've got Zach Edey, they've got Gigi Jackson, they've got Cedric Coward. Omax played pretty decently to end off the season there. I don't really know what's happening with Ja Morant. I assume that they're going to trade him, but who knows. Either way, Cameron Boozer is definitely the way to go here. At 4, the Bulls, yeah, another pretty easy one. Go for Caleb Wilson. The Bulls jumped up in the draft. They got really lucky, which is a great break for them, a franchise which has been struggling ever since the end of the Michael Jordan era. Again, Josh Giddey and Bizelis is a pretty decent young duo to build around, and now they have the young, competitive, athletic, defensive Caleb Wilson to go along with that, which, great start. Again, just like the Grizzlies. And now here is when the draft gets a little bit more interesting, in which the LA Clippers are picking at 5, taking away the pick for the Pacers. Sorry, Pacers fans. Now, we have this whole slew of guards here, which I think most people would consider the next tier of prospects in this draft. So it's all about picking which one the Clippers are going to go with. I think most of the talk right now is surrounding Keaton Wagler, and I totally get it. If you guys have been watching the Spurs Thunder series, which I'm assuming a lot of you have been, these are the kind of players that win basketball games. They kind of control the tempo, good shooting, can facilitate a little bit, and can create their own shot a bit. I mean, you just can't have enough of those players, and I really see it, and I feel like Keaton Wagler is going to be a really good contributor and connecting piece wherever he goes, and I'll talk about him a little bit more, because I'm not going to take him here. I am going to go with Darius Acuff Jr. I really like Darius Acuff. I'm a massive Darius Acuff guy. I know that there's a lot of issues with the defense. I get that. But he's just such a special scorer. You don't see guards that can just get to their spots as much as he can. And I know it's a really weird fit, especially with Darius Garland, like Two small guards do not work together. But I feel like let's be honest, the Clippers aren't really going anywhere at the moment either. I think they're probably going to trade Kawhi, or they probably have good reason to trade Kawhi. And I'm not taking a number 5 overall pick. I'm not basing my number 5 overall pick on Darius Garland. No offense, Darius Garland is a pretty decent player. But yeah, I'm going to go Darius Acuff Jr. here. He's just the kind of player that in 4 years, if you don't take him and he's getting multiple All-Star appearances, you're going to kick yourself. You don't see guards this dynamic every year. I think Darius Acuff is the 5th best prospect on my board, and so I would take him here for the Clippers. All right, number 6, we have the Brooklyn Nets. Now, again, they get the second choice out of these next few guards here. I think they could take a look at Mikal Brown Jr. He's got that upside athletic scoring kind of aspect, even though he didn't even though he wasn't quite able to show that efficiency at Louisville this season. Kings and Fleming is obviously another good selection, but for me, I am going to go Keaton Wagler for a lot of the reasons that I said before, just about the fact that I truly believe Keaton Wagler is one of those players that is a winning player. Keaton Wagler would slot into any winning team perfectly, and he would contribute towards winning, which is obviously the end goal of basketball. And I know that the Nets aren't fully close to that goal yet, and I know that they would like to have more of a high upside 1A type player to continue. But, I think Keaton Wagler not only works well with some of the players they've already gotten, like Yegor Demon, he's also just a really good piece that they can use to move forward. All right, at 7, the Sacramento Kings. I feel like this is a great spot here for Mikal Brown Jr. Again, just a kind of very athletic scorer. He's a lot better playmaker than I think a lot of people give him credit for. So if I was the Sacramento Kings front office, I would take Mikal Brown Jr. here. I don't really know what's happening with Sacramento in terms of who they can get rid of. Like, are they going to trade Sabonis? Are they going to trade DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine? Can you trade them? And what kind of package could you get back in return? But either way, I'm not factoring that into my decision here to take Mikal Brown Jr. It's all about the star upside. Number 8, the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like the two biggest spots of need for the Hawks at the moment is center and a true point guard. Now, lucky for the Hawks, there are two of those guys on the board at the moment in Aday Mara and Kingston Flemings. I know a lot of people are in love with Aday Mara at the moment. I mean, he's 7'3". How can you not? But I think I'm still going to stick with Kingston Flemings here. If some team wants to come trade up and get Aday Mara, they can do that one. But I still really believe that after the top 4, the next 4 guards are truly in like their own separate tier. Maybe 5 if you want to include Burries. I'm high on Burries as well. But I truly believe this slew of guards you should take above the next few players, which I guess would be the Michigan bigs. So yeah, Kingston Flemings, great point of attack defender, great playmaker, great scorer downhill. He's got a great jump shot. He needs to shoot the 3 ball a little bit more, but ultimately I would take him here for the Hawks at number 8. Now at number 9, we have the Dallas Mavericks. And for the Mavericks, it's all about building around Cooper Flag. Now, I feel like if I was the Mavericks in this spot, I would go for Braden Burries. Another winning type of player that I talked about before with Keaton Wagler. I've seen a few Derek White comparisons to Burries. Again, like a very connective defender guard. We saw that a lot in Arizona's NCAA tournament and throughout the rest of their season as well. Pretty good shooter is Burries, averaging 16 points per game. A lot more of a lead option than I think a lot of people consider him as. Like, he definitely has upside to be not a lead scorer, obviously, which again the Mavericks don't need because they have Cooper Flag, but he could definitely be like a third option on a title contending team at some point, which I think is a great option for the Mavericks to take here at number 9. All right, number 10, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, again, I have no idea what's going on with Giannis. I don't think anyone does. It feels like every single month we get told he's going to be traded tomorrow, and he never is. So again, he might just be on the Bucks until he retires, or he could get traded tomorrow to a random team. I have no idea. I've seen a lot of stuff regarding the Bucks taking Nate Ament. I don't quite know about that one. I'm not the biggest Nate Ament guy. A guy who's meant to be a shooter, can't actually shoot the ball well, and just was not impressive, to me at least, at Tennessee this season. Obviously, he's an extremely raw prospect. There's a lot of upside there, but I just would have liked to see a little bit more to make me believe in that upside. I'm not like a complete Nate Ament hater. I still have him obviously fairly high in this draft, but I would not take him at 10 if I was the Bucks. If this mock draft was about what I think was going to happen, I might have him there, but I feel as though I'm going to go for another guard here in LeBaron Philon. I feel like no matter what direction they go, if they choose to try and keep Giannis and build up another good level team, I feel like Philon fits well with that. And then also, if they want to trade Giannis and completely rebuild, Philon is a great young guard option. Not as athletic as a lot of the players that went ahead of him in the guard tier above him, but an extremely shifty player. He controls the pace of the game well. He's a pretty good playmaker, can get downhill, and I believe in Philon to be a great upcoming guard, which is why I think the Bucks will take him here to round out the top 10. All right, number 11, the Golden State Warriors here. Again, the Warriors are a weird team. I think they're still obviously going to try to build around Steph Curry to make one last run at giving him a chance to win. I don't really know how they can do it with this team. I guess they're going to try to make a big splash. Maybe they get there, maybe they don't. But in regards of this pick, I think the options really go around Aday Mara and Yaxel Lendeborg. Throughout the entirety of the Warriors dynasty, we know that they've always lacked a real center. Not that that's ever really been a problem for them in their 4 championships. But I feel like I'm going to go Yaxel Lendeborg here. He's just the kind of jack-of-all-trades player that the Warriors need. They just really need more bodies at this point, more good basketball players, and Yaxel Lendeborg is definitely that. We saw him lead Michigan to a national title this season. And obviously, I think he's 23 or 24, which is obviously extremely old for a player that you're taking 11th. But, he fits the Warriors timeline, and he's a player that you can instantly just plug in, and he'll help you win as soon as next season. Up at 12 now, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just lost Game 7 against the Spurs. I wouldn't really panic if I was the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, it's kind of hard with the Thunder because you can kind of sit here and look at them with two sides. You can look at it and say that they went Game 7 against the Spurs and they didn't have 2 of their best players for the entirety of the series. And you can also look at it and say that they might have lost Game 7 of the finals last year if Hallie was healthy. Either way, I still think a fully healthy Thunder team is the best team in the league, even though they'll have to retool some things this offseason. I think a great way to start that is to take Aday Mara here at 12. I don't know if Aday Mara will still be here at 12. Again, his name has been brought up a lot in a lot of rumors recently. I feel like a lot of teams might want to trade up to get him, but again, the Thunder have so many picks that if they really set their eyes on someone, especially in this range, they can trade up 1 or 2 places using the 17th pick or some of the other assets to go get him. But yeah, Aday Mara, 7'3" center, obviously. I guess maybe they're going to hope that he can stop Wemby. I don't think he's the kind of player that can. But either way, he, a great passer at 7'3" to continue building their team brand of basketball. 13th pick, we have the Miami Heat here. Heat are an interesting one. Feels like they're always primed to make a move, but they never do. How can they build around Mr. 83 here? Again, you can go Nate Ament, you can go the high upside, you can go a Karim Lopez, who's a bit more of a polished prospect. Again, Quaintance is another good high upside player. Honestly, I think if I was them, I would go Cameron Carr here. Great player, obviously, absolutely just came out of nowhere this season for the Baylor Bears and he's risen up giraffe boards since he had a great showing at the Giraffe Combine, measuring a 7-foot wingspan, which is obviously ridiculous, and playing really good in the scrimmages. I mean, Cameron Carr projects to be an elite 3 and D player, and again, I've mentioned it several times throughout this video already, he's just one of those complementary guys who can shoot and who can defend and just impact winning. Obviously, he's still fairly raw. He'd like to see the creation get a little bit better, and the defense, besides the fact that he has a 7-foot wingspan, he hasn't fully tapped into that potential yet, which you would like to see more of. But Heat obviously a great developmental franchise, and I believe they can get the best out of Cameron Carr here. And finishing up the lottery here, we have the Charlotte Hornets, who I have selecting Morez Johnson Jr. Morez Johnson Jr. is one of my favorite players in this draft class, and he rounds out this trio of Michigan bigs, who I all have going in the lottery in this mock. Morez is obviously an elite play finisher, an elite lob threat. He obviously needs to work out his game a little bit back from the basket, but he shot around about 80% from the free throw line, and whilst he didn't take many threes, I think I remember he shot like 35% from three, which is encouraging signs of the fact that he might be able to develop something one day. I feel like often some of the people in this class who who have held out high on Quaintance have often ignored the fact that Morez is doing a lot of what they would have liked to see Quaintance do this season. Not that I think that they're the same player or that Morez has higher upside, but I feel like a lot of what he's done this season as a great finishing big and as a pretty good defender, secondary defender, as for this Michigan team is just really going under the radar. So I feel like Morez is going to be a great addition to this young and upcoming Hornets team here. All right, 15th now we have the Chicago Bulls. Now, I think what would be best for the Bulls is to take another high upside player here, and I think this is where I will go for Nate Ament. Nate Ament, as I mentioned earlier, is a very polarizing player. He obviously has the potential to make everyone, including me, look silly and showing that he should have gone a lot higher than this, but he just wasn't able to fully put all the pieces together at Tennessee yet. But, Chicago here at 15 is betting that he will, and again, leaving here with Caleb Wilson and Nate Ament, I think would be a pretty good haul there for Chicago. Now, number 16, the Grizzlies, yet again, another team that's more of a blank slate beginning of the rebuild team. I think they should go for a high upside pick as well. You could look at someone like Jaden Quaintance here, but I'm going to go with another player. I'm going to go with Ibuka Okori. Ibuka Okori, standing at just 6'2". Obviously, there are going to be size concerns, but again, just a really, really shifty guard. You can see that he averaged 23.2 points per game for a struggling Stanford team last season. I really, really like Ibuka Okori, and again, I feel like if you walk out of here with Cam Boozer and Ibuka Okori, that is such a good dynamic duo for the Grizzlies to pair with Zach Edey and Cedric Coward. Like, you're building something really nice, and you've only just started the rebuild. Future's looking bright in Memphis, I'll just say that. All right, number 17, we've got the Thunder back on the clock. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like they could trade up or trade away. I doubt that they'll select at both 12 and 17, but I'm not doing trades in this mock, so we will say that they are. I feel like they could go for Quaintance because I don't know how much more help they need, but I'm going to go for a player that I feel like they could more utilize early on, which is Karim Lopez. I got to see Karim Lopez when he played for the New Zealand Breakers this season in the NBL. He's a pretty good shooter. He's got great length and size for his position. And towards the end of the season, you saw him progress a decent amount, especially in his finishing and playmaking ability, which is, really great to see. And I feel like he's a great complementary piece to add to this Thunder team with Adai Mara. All right, now on to number 18, and we are back with the Hornets here. Okay, so the biggest need for the Hornets coming into this draft, I feel like, was definitely front court depth. They already picked Morez Johnson Jr., and I'm wondering if I should double down with front court depth or if we should go with one of the guards. I think I'm going to double up, and I think I'm going to go with, firstly, the more safe pick of Maurice Johnson, and then we go the more high upside pick of Jaden Quaintance. I mean, again, just like I said with Nate Ament earlier, Jaden Quaintance could be that kind of player where you look at and say, man, you saw the flashes, why didn't he go higher? But he just wasn't able to show anything this college season, only played 4 games with Kentucky. Again, he looked like an absolute monster in the games that he did play, especially defensively. Again, extremely raw prospect, even when he did grace the floor, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But again, from his physical stature and from what we've seen from his defensive prowess, there's obviously a lot of upside here, and I feel like going 18, the Hornets would love him there. All right, number 19, the Toronto Raptors. I feel like the question for me right here is really Christian Anderson or Bennett Sturts. I think the Raptors really need a point guard. I know that the Toronto Raptors usually love positional size. That's their kind of brand of basketball here. But if I was them, I would go for Christian Anderson. Christian Anderson, I think, one of the most underrated prospects in this class often. He averaged 18.5 points, and he shot a ridiculous clip from 3. I think he's one of, if not the best. I'm going to give him that mantle. I think he's the best shooter at the moment in this class. And you see it right there, 7.4 assists, great playmaker. He's pretty shifty getting downhill. He can spread the floor, he can space the floor, and I feel like he's going to be a really good pick and roll partner going into the future as well. Number 20 here, we have the San Antonio Spurs. As everyone saw in Game 7 and throughout the series and the season, they have a really good, really deep team. I feel like perhaps the biggest area of need for them is a backup big or maybe another power forward to play alongside Wemby. We saw Luke Cornett have that amazing chase down block, but besides that, the backup bigs for the Spurs have been pretty lacking a decent chunk of the season. So I feel like you could either go for a little bit more raw upsidey Chris Sinak, but I'm going to go with Hannes Steinbach. The concerns around Steinbach mainly revolve around his defensive ability, which, when you have Wembanyama, you don't really need to worry about that too much. He can cover a lot of that. Steinbach is a great rebounder, pretty good finisher, 18.5 points per game on 57.7% shooting. Yeah, just a great glass cleaner to help the Spurs get all these offensive boards, and having to box out him and Wemby would be an absolute nightmare. All right, 21st, the Detroit Pistons. I feel like there's a pretty good fit here, and that is with Bennett Sturts. The Pistons just really need more secondary shot creation. I feel like Bennett Sturts is perhaps the best at doing that. We saw him lead Iowa on one of the most surprise runs of this year's tournament. Just like a tough, gritty kind of guard who can create for himself, create for others. It's just kind of what the Pistons are looking for right now. I feel like he would be a really good addition to that team. 22 here, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers are a bit of a weird team. They have some of the older players with Joel Embiid and Paul George, and they also have some more of the younger stars in Tyrese Maxey and last year's rookie sensation VJ Edgecombe. And they also did just pull off a 3-1 comeback against the Celtics. So yeah, they could go in a variety of directions here again. I feel like I'm going to have them taking Dalen Swain here. Swain obviously was pretty much carrying the Longhorns for a decent chunk of last season. Great defender. He improved his scoring ability a lot last season as the number 1 option. The shooting form is still a little bit wonky, but he's improved as a shooter every single year of his college career. So, if he can keep doing that, then he will be a force in the NBA and a great pick here at 22 for the 76ers. Moving on to 23 here, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Now, another one of the reasons why I thought that Kingston Flemings was a good pick at 8 was that around 23, a lot of the prospects in this range are pretty good big men. If you took a Daimara at number 8, there wouldn't really be a chance to get a guard here. But so yeah, I think they're going to go Chris Sinak here, who's fallen a tiny bit. I have him around this range. But so Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak, I would be pretty happy with that. If I was a Hawks fan, I feel like that's a good combo. Obviously, extremely raw player for the Houston Cougars this season. The short form is obviously really nice. The frame is really nice. If you can turn that into a piece for the Atlanta Hawks, I feel like that would be really nice for them moving forward. 24, we've got the New York Knicks, the finals-bound New York Knicks. I mean, they're a pretty complete team. There's not a lot of holes in which the current roster is built. I feel like if I was them, I would go Isaiah Evans. Isaiah Evans, pretty good shot-making guard. He can come off the bench and get you some buckets. Pretty much what the Knicks kind of need. What I would say that the Knicks need the most. Isaiah Evans, he has that size at a 6'6" shooting guard. He's shifty. He's one of the better shooters in the class. I mean, yeah, just your classic kind of spark plug scorer that I think would be a really good addition and would potentially get minutes for a contending team in his rookie season. All right, 25 here, we've got the Los Angeles Lakers. The biggest area of the Los Angeles Lakers is center. They still have Dwight Howard here on Fanspo as the starting center for the Lakers, which is funny. But yeah, center is where they would like to go. A couple of the centers withdrew from the class, but I feel like they should go for Henry Visa. I would go Henry Visa. I feel like Visa is often overlooked in terms of this draft class. I mean, you can see it there. He averaged 17 points per game on 60% field goal percentage. He's a 7-footer. He's not quite like a supreme athletic lob threat that you would ideally like to pair with Luka, like a Derek Lively or something, but he's pretty good. He's pretty good as a finisher. He's, again, not the best at creating. We saw that when Caleb Wilson went down for UNC, but, he's a typical strong big. He can finish plays. He's a pretty decent finisher, and he's just not going to do too much. He's going to fill his role, and he's going to be a pretty good center for the Lakers. At 26 here, we have the Denver Nuggets. I wonder how the Nuggets felt watching that Thunder Spurs series. I don't really know internally how close they feel that they are to competing with either of those two teams, but they won a championship a few years ago, and they obviously, when you have Jokic, you're always going to be a threat to contend. Right here, yeah, this is the kind of range where a lot of the players have dropped out and returned to college here. Like, again, Braylon Mullins, Krivas, Amari Allen, Tyler Tanner, Condon, Ngungba, Yesufu, all those players that did return to college, which is why I'm not taking them here. But yeah, for number 26 for the Nuggets, I'm going to take another analytic darling, Alan Graves here. Obviously, the Graves jump shot does look a little bit strange when you first see it, but he can shoot the ball. Yeah, again, great connecting piece, great contributor to winning. The on and off stats for Alan Graves are pretty crazy. You see analytic people in love with this guy, and you can see why. He's just one of those players. I've mentioned it several times already. I'm going to keep mentioning it. He's just one of those winning, connective players that you can't get enough of when you're building a team. And a team like the Nuggets needs that kind of depth, especially around the power forward position. I don't know what they're going to do regarding Brown and if they can re-sign Peyton Watson or what they're going to do there, but either way, no matter what they do with their entire team, Alan Graves can fit it. 27, we have the Boston Celtics. I have them going with a few good options here. They could go Joshua Jefferson, but I think they're going to go Malik Thomas here. Malik Thomas had a pretty good freshman season for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He's a pretty good scoring guard. He was a little bit sporadic and out of control at times. Went a little bit like chaotic, barreling towards the rim rather than that methodical shiftiness that you would like to see. But from a raw guard prospect who was playing behind another ball dominant guard in Darius Acuff, he showed that he can play on ball and he showed that he could play off ball. Pretty good shooting season for Malik Thomas, so I feel like he would fit well as a good upside play and a good off the bench at the moment scorer for the Boston Celtics. All right, 28, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, again, are another one of those interesting teams who are kind of in that in-between range where they're a great team. They can run it back next season and they'll probably win a playoff series, but especially considering their entire team is, just all playoff risers, but they just don't really seem able to get over that hump, especially over those two bigger teams in the West. I mean, hey, they might be able to move to the East soon, but we'll see. I feel like you just got to go best player available for the Timberwolves, and for me, I feel like that's Koa Pete. Koa Pete has slid down a lot of draft boards since the start of the season. He had a great start of the season in Arizona. He wasn't terrible towards the end, but just showed off a lot more of the reasons why you would pass up on him earlier in the draft. He's not a great shooter. Just, if you are one of the people that look at Cam Boozer and you say, I don't think he can translate because he's a bit of a bruiser, then you're going to not want to touch Koa Pete at all. He is, just one of those guys that it's just hard to fully envision his role translating to that winning style of NBA basketball, but he's a player. You can't hate against this level of productivity that he showed with a really good Arizona team last season in a really good conference. And when that level of productivity is shown, you just got to take it at this stage in the first round, especially with all the other absences in this draft class. So yeah, the Timberwolves should be pretty happy to get Koa Pete here. I don't exactly know where he would slide in their rotation, but it's a good piece to find late in the draft. 29, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, similar situation with the Cavaliers. I feel like after that masterclass we just watched between the Thunder and the Spurs, all the teams I thought were good are now feeling a little bit more further away. I feel like for them, there's a few options, but I feel like I would probably go Joshua Jefferson. Joshua Jefferson is a very high floor player here that I feel like the Cavs need. They're not really looking to go star hunting here or high upside hunting at this stage of the draft. Joshua Jefferson is, your typical senior who is probably going to wind up providing more value than a bunch of the players above him that people chose because of the upside. He's an extremely skilled power forward. I would like to see, again, him shoot the ball a little bit better if he wants to carve out a role in the modern NBA, but just an overall really good player for the Cleveland Cavaliers to select here to build out more of their their front court bench depth. All right, and last up, we have the Dallas Mavericks, who selected Braden Burries earlier in this draft. Again, so many of these players that I'm seeing right now, like almost everyone on the screen, isn't actually available because they're returning to college. Zuby Ejiofor, I feel like, would be a great pick here for the Dallas Mavericks. They could go Luigi Swigo. They could go a little bit crazy, pull out a little bit of Luigi. Again, a lot of people in the draft space have been loving Luigi recently. Taris Reed had an amazing NCAA tournament run they could go with as well. Sergio De La Reyna, a little bit underrated. I feel like he could be a steal in the second round potentially. You know what? I'm going to go with Luigi. 7-3. We've seen a couple interesting games. I haven't gotten to look through too much of the Serbians tape yet, but it looks like an intriguing prospect. Obviously, the thing that stands out is 7-3. Seems to have a pretty good wingspan. You've already got Cooper Flagg and Braden Burries, so in this mock, so why not splash out, go a little bit crazy, and try out on the upside swing of Luigi. Yep, so that's going to be the end of my mock today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and comment what picks you would have done differently and what picks you liked for your team. I'm hoping to put out a few more videos before the draft next month. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.